Okay, team. Given we've got a due date over the top corner of the board that does actually say Tuesday, you'll be able to see that there. Oscar and James very much says Tuesday. Thank you, Larry, for backing me up. I'm out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with Bushwalk. So due date being Tuesday, we can still work towards that. But as Paulie did say to me Friday afternoon, you did say you were going to go through the conclusion and the introduction with us. You're absolutely correct, and I do apologise that I forgot to do that. Please, in future, if I say I'm going to do something, it happens to slip my mind, pull me up on that. But what I'll do is I'll go through the conclusion and the introduction, separate videos here, and you can have a look at them. So to begin with, I'm actually going to write an introduction here on should boxing be banned. I know I've used this as an example before, whether it be year 10 or year 11 or even this year in year 12. It's just an easy one to go with. So when it comes to writing your introduction, 4 things we need to look at here. Firstly, define it. In other words, we need to define the topic that we are talking about. So, in blue, define it. I'm talking about boxing. So here is my paragraph behind me, already written out. Beautiful, good work, me. Where am I looking at in terms of defining it? Boxing is a sporting contest which involves opponents using their fists to defeat each other. So I've actually explained out what it is. You've got to assume the reader knows nothing. Don't use a lot of words here. We've only got about 250 at most, probably 150 words, we want to be using for our introduction. But I've literally defined it. Over here is the sub. I've got examples could help. So I've defined boxing. Boxing is a sporting contest which involves opponents using their fists to defeat each other. So that goes with that. Could use examples to help. Well, I've gone and done that as well. Whilst boxing is an individual sport, it can also take the form of mixed martial arts. I've used an example there to help. So that's an example. Hang on, I was going to see if the lights work any better. It was a bit too glary, I thought, but with these extra lights, but anyway, we'll push on. So I've used an example there. So the example being, hey, it can also be in the form of mixed martial arts. I could have maybe said taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, whatever it be. But I'm making it clear so the reader understands exactly what it is we're talking about. So if you're looking at transgender, define what transgender is. If you're talking about the organised sport, define what organised sport is. We need to make sure we define it. Next thing we need to do is we need to make it an issue. This is an issues analysis, so let's make it an issue. How we make it an issue? A stat or a quote. So if it's a stat in terms of this is how many people or this is the population or whatever it might be, a stat or a quote from an expert. So if it's about a topic that we can't find a stat on, let's find a quote from an expert who says, this is happening, this is the problem. So let's make it an issue. Where have I done that? Some believe that boxing is too violent with over 500 deaths occurring in the ring since its inception. I've got a stat there, 500 deaths since boxing began. Suddenly the reader goes, wow, this is an issue, this is a problem. What have I also done? Referenced it. So straight away, I've already got a reference. Go back to your assignment sheet. One of the aspects of the assessment is referencing. So let's plug in as many as we can from different sources, not just from the one source. So some believe that boxing is too violent with over 500 deaths occurring in the ring since its inception. This coupled with an average concussion rate of 13,428 people per year. So I have made it an issue. Right? So make it an issue. Hey, I've gone and done that. So that links in with that. Next step I need to do, turns out there's not a lot of difference in colour between those two, but anyway. Next thing I need to do, show it's an issue. I've turned it into an issue with a stat. I'm now going to show it's an issue, that it's something we can debate because I'm going to show you the other side. Turns out that makes a bit of noise. show it's an issue, I'm going to show both sides. So there's one side. Well, currently it's not an issue unless I show you the other side. But with an average US viewership of 21.1 million people per year, there are many that view it as entertainment. So what I've gone and done is showing you the other side of the argument, which is now making it an issue. Two sides. What have I also done? Reference that. So already I've got 3 references in my introduction. 3 references. So to begin with, I'm going to define it. If I need to, I can give an example of what it is, which is those 2 sections there broken up. I'm then going to make it an issue by bringing in a stat or a quote. I'm then going to show that it is in fact an issue by bringing in the different sides. And then finally, I've got my guiding question, which I bring in. So the question needs to be asked, should boxing be banned? And now what I've got is myself an introduction. So if you jump out of the way, Mr. Driver. Boxing is a sporting contest which involves opponents using their fists to defeat each other. Whilst boxing is an individual sport, it can also take the form of mixed martial arts. Some believe that boxing is too violent, with over 500 deaths occurring in the ring since its inception. This, coupled with an average concussion rate of 13,428 people per year. But with an average US viewership of 21.1 million people per year, there are many that view it as entertainment. So the question needs to be asked, should boxing be banned? So now I'm in a position where I've made it into an issue. I've shown that there are 2 sides to it, and I've shown the reader very clearly where I'm going to take this essay. So there's no doubt about it. They know what we're actually going to be talking about. Driver, can we use some of these stats later on? That's okay. You can put that in a paragraph somewhere else and say, as stated previously, there have been over 500 deaths. You would then go into more information and provide other examples, more evidence, make it stronger. But what we've got there is a pretty decent paragraph, and I haven't used that many words. So that should hopefully sort you out in terms of writing your issues analysis. Thanks, guys.